3, 2, 1. Welcome to another Tired Dad podcast. This is episode 28. I'm Nathan Ross, your host, and with me we have the beautiful
Melissa Ross.
Hello, Melissa Ross.
Hello.
You wasn't here last time I did a podcast.
Oh, I haven't been well.
You haven't been well. And
the plague has hit our household.
Has it?
Not quite.
No, just you.
No, we've had colds.
Well, Emily had an earache and she got a temperature, so she was ill for a week, and then you've got it. Man down, I'm standing strong.
Mine just drags on and on and on.
Yeah,
I'm in schools, that's why.
And yeah, you're working in schools with the little rascals that give you
coughs and
all the rubbish. And me.
But I'm back with a vengeance.
Are you?
Ready to discuss a very heated topic.
You're loving the moment we talk about it's like, yeah, I'm in there.
No.
I'm in there.
No, I just like to hear
it's all to blame me.
Oh, I just like to hear you talk about your accountability.
Okay, so we're going to talk about, on this episode, the silent killer of marriage.
Well, let's just rewind that.
Okay, let's just rewind. Welcome to Tired Back. Yeah, go on, what?
The whole few topics that the topic that we're going to be discussing over the next few episodes is all encompassing about if a marriage was going to be destroyed, how would it be done?
Should we tell them how we found this out?
Go on then, go for it.
Okay, because I like to be honest and transparent.
Yeah.
We saw on Instagram a guy ask Chat GPT if the devil was going to ruin a marriage, how would he go about it? And he listed off all these things. Now, if you know how Chat GPT works, then his Chat GPT would give him answers that how he's trained his AI. Yeah. So I said, let's ask my AI, because I've trained my AI around dads, tired dads, marriage, affairs, strength, leadership.
And it was bang on.
And it was bang on. It was bang on. And we're going to talk about one of those things. We're going to take a segment at a time.
Yeah, a chapter, an episode.
A chapter and an episode at a time. And so in today's podcast 28, we're going to talk about the silent killer of marriage, which is ego and pride.
Yeah, for sure.
Go on then. You want to talk about it?
Right, let's just rewind 11 years, shall we? How did it all begin?
Go on then.
Well, this is going to be from our perspective, isn't it?
Yeah,
what happened in our relationship. This may not be relevant to other people's relationships, but we just want to give value and advice based on the mistakes that we've made in our...
You've made many, yeah.
Okay.
As we go through this...
Sorry, I'll reword that. The mistakes that you've made.
As we go through this, Mel will be divulging her mistakes. Through the
Your fault.
Your fault.
You know.
Yeah, hands made tail. But yeah, so we're going to talk about the mistakes that Mel's made throughout the 11 years of marriage. And it's going to be so long, this podcast is.
Do you know what? How amazing that we can laugh about it now, though.
True.
Do you know what?
Are we laughing, or are we just nervously
I'm kicking him under the table, really.
She's grabbing my testicles as we speak. So we're going to talk about the silent killer, which is ego.
Yeah.
And pride.
Yeah, for sure. And how that can be the first stepping stone to unraveling your relationship. I suppose it's like you're chipping away at it, almost liking it to...
Yeah, I'm going to... We've got a few things that we want to talk about, but I really want to concentrate on this one here that I think so many dads really, really tackle this. You deserve better.
As in, I deserve better, and that voice in your head.
Yeah, that voice in the head. Yeah. Because I think we could go into lots of different things, but I feel like for me...
Because this is kind of how it all starts, doesn't it? Why should I be the one to apologise? Yeah. I'm not saying sorry. I wasn't in the wrong.
Yeah. Should we set the scene for us?
Let's go for it.
Okay, we're going to be raw, and we're going to be transparent and vulnerable. You hurt your back.
Yeah.
Remember? Really bad. Really bad.
I have
to a point where you couldn't you couldn't get off the bed.
Yeah.
I was running the gym, 120 hours in the gym, which we spoke about many times. You had Emerson, who was about 2 at the time, 3?
3 and a half.
And we went out for one meal. You got off the chair, boom, your back done. So then we've had...
It was disc prolapses.
You had 3 altogether. And so you had that. I was trying to run the gym. We had to go through this whole thing of you going for checks and MRIs, scans. We had to pay private for MRI. We had to pay private for medication and all that. And that took us about 6 months. And during that time, I was getting stressed out at work. This medication was making you get quite depressive, wasn't it? And quite...
Well, let's be honest. Let's rewind even further back to that.
Okay.
we were already becoming disconnected
Yeah.
because of the fact of how many hours you were working. You were never home.
Mm-hmm. And Sunday nights when I was home, we just argue.
Yeah, because we didn't have enough time together. So the time that we did have, it was to unravel things that had gone on in the week.
Mm-hmm.
So the disconnect had already started really with the lack of time in connection.
Yeah.
And then in the midst of all that, I felt like you weren't there for me during my need, and you probably felt that I wasn't there for you in your time of need. So we were both probably silently resentful
of each other.
Yeah. But I just wallowed in my own pain while you decided to get distracted elsewhere. I'll let you take the floor.
You're gonna lay it on me like that, are you?
Do it.
Yeah, so I got distracted elsewhere. I was working, doing lots of PTs. Is that what you mean, distracted? That one.
Say it however you want to say it.
And, okay, so I'm going to come back to what you were saying first before we go right into Raw.
Yeah.
The whole thing of me deserving better was a justification. You were on your knees in a way, like...
You wish.
Yeah. No, but you were literally like
I was incapacitated.
In pain. We'd argue every Sunday. I was like, man, I'm working my ass off, justifying my own actions. I'm working my ass off, coming back to you having to go at me about why I'm working so much. You having to go at me. You don't care about what's going on, blah, blah, blah. And so then people, i.e. girl, got my attention, wasn't it? It wasn't even girl. It was just the gym got my attention more than you, didn't it? My personal training clients got more attention than you. Really,
you spent more time with those people than you did me. And we talked about this the other day, that there should never be a situation where you are having more of an emotional connection with other people, particularly of the opposite sex.
If you know about personal training, you're one-on-one with someone, they're sharing their life, they're sharing their ups and downs, they're sharing their relationships, you're getting to know them quite intimately. And
you also doing the same thing.
Yeah, and if you're sharing back and then you're talking about things and people are quite... what's the word? Snaky. People can be kind of snaky and like, oh yeah, what's going on then? And you start talking, and before you know, they know everything about you. And
I'm sure at that point you divulged what was going on with me, and you know the fact that I wouldn't even call it injured at the time. I wasn't injured, but like I was incapacitated at that point. So during that time, because I was on a lot of medication, I became quite depressed. I'd put a lot of weight on.
Which was again another thing of me to say, I deserve better.
I didn't feel like I was, and this is where we were bumping heads, because I didn't feel like I was getting the support that I needed from you. I was driving myself to my hospital appointments. Crawling on the floor because I couldn't walk because you couldn't have time off from the gym.
I was putting the gym first.
So I felt that way, but then you also felt that you didn't have my support with work. So,
and looking back, let's be real, and I'll be honest with you guys, I wasn't the man that she needed me to be. I should have said, guys, can't do this, I'm going to support you. But I think I'd worked up so hard to a point to get the gym to this point.
You were so afraid to...
I was so afraid to let go or let people take over the gym. And so my pride kicked in, didn't it, really?
Yeah,
and my ego. And you understood that, anyway.
And I understood that. And one thing I will say is I've never been someone who, and I've said this to you before, has ever wanted to be the reason why work didn't work. But I felt like you used that a little bit against me sometimes, and that can happen. You're stopping me from working, or you're stopping me from doing what I want to do.
And I think
you don't control me, and
we were just to a point then where we were just clashing, weren't we?
Yeah.
And I'd be resentful of you having to take you to the hospital for MRIs or whatever, and you were resenting me because I was never at home. And when we was at home, we was either arguing or we'd go out together for the day somewhere, so we didn't argue, so we had a nice happy time. The reality was we just discussing.
We were putting plasters over a lot of the relationship, weren't we?
And I remember one time, I think we went out to Hatton or somewhere like that, which is like a nature place. And I remember just, we were talking but not talking, and I just remember you pushing the pram, or I can't remember, I think it was a stroll at the time, and you were just like this.
Well, I think there was a lot of hurt by that point because I saw you pulling away from me in real time, and I begged you almost to stop doing what you were doing, i.e. entertaining attention and having a growing and developing relationship with somebody else that I saw happening in front of my eyes, and I begged you to stop, and you were like, no, it's work, and I knew full well it wasn't work.
And then the justification of me by saying I deserve better, letting my ego come and
what did you mean by that, though? Because when men say I deserve better, in what way?
I think it was more so the whole thing of just attention.
I need somebody to get what I'm doing.
Yeah, understand. And I'm not being funny, guys. a woman will say anything to make you think they understand you. Okay, and that's my warning. That's my number one warning. Most women will say to you, "I wouldn't be like that," or "Oh, I understand where you're coming from." They don't care about the woman or your wife or anything. They say they understand where you're coming from, and that should be the first red flag. Because no woman understands where you're coming from. They shouldn't do anyway. You know what I mean? If you say it to a guy, they'll be like, "Yeah, I get it." But if a woman understands, that's a red flag. And so that's what you're doing.
And also, really, you shouldn't be having those emotional conversations with anyone outside your relationship anyway.
No. Which is another thing I've learned.
The minute that you do that, you are opening up an avenue for somebody to come in and be like, "Oh, there's a problem here. I think I'll creep in and fit in where perhaps the spouse isn't."
And also, I think as well, like the arguments we're having weren't massive, but they became big, didn't they?
Because we were so disconnected.
Because we were so disconnected, a small disagreement would become into a massive disagreement, and my pride would kick in, your pride would kick in, pain would kick in, and what happens from this small, tiny argument? I know the bowl wasn't washed in the sink, or I know someone didn't change anything happy or whatever. That would then lead into something so big that then you're like, "I'm not apologising for it. I'm in the right." No, you're in the right. And then we started having conflict that way then, didn't we?
Well, I think it started off as little things like that we were both feeling resentful toward each other. Then that turned into you turning your attention elsewhere and us having conflict about that.
Yeah.
Because I remember from really the point of me being like bedbound, from then on, really, I think that was the point where you really turned your back and the attention was elsewhere. Yeah. And from then on, I don't really remember our arguments being about much else other than, "Mel, you're stopping me from doing work. It's work. It's nothing more than work." And I was like, "But it isn't."
Yeah.
And we went round in circles. And
not
post that was when we started getting into the very, very dangerous web of you telling me lies to keep me quiet, to tell me what I wanted to hear. And that's when the web of lies started to happen, to a point where you got yourself in that deep that
you couldn't get out.
You couldn't get out of it.
And if you've been in this situation, man, you probably understand that when you get into that downfall of lies and that downfall of deceit, it can become very hard to actually get yourselves out of it, because to get yourself out of it, you've got to be open.
And also, you don't even know how you got in it.
No. We had this discussion so many times, didn't it?
Because at any point, would you have looked at me before this and say, "Mal, I want a divorce, I don't want to be with you"?
No, not at all.
It's a very slow,
slippery.
it's a little
whisper.
It's a little whisper of doubt into your mind constantly about, "Well, you're really not happy with your relationship, are you? Do you really love your wife? Because I think you could do better." And, well, I wouldn't be like that. Yeah. And it's a slow trickle of infiltration that's very influential when you're in a low point yourself, because your ego has got so big that you think
and the lies
nobody else's needs matter.
No, and the lies have got so big.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's guys watching this going, "Yeah, I understand where you're coming from." And maybe you're in that situation now. One of the things I will say to you guys is the only way out is pain. And I don't mean for your partner to know the truth, because they'll know the truth anyway, guys. You knew what was going on anyway. And most partners know what's going on.
Yeah, but you got really good at lying. Let's just lay it bare.
Yeah.
You got really good at lying. Not that I ever believed you.
No, but I thought you did.
But for the sake of
less hassle,
for the sake of keeping our family together, because I was terrified about breaking our family apart. For the sake of that, I bought your bullshit. But you got good at it, and I think you thought you got good at it, and I think that you thought you were keeping everybody happy and keeping everybody sweet. But why did you feel you needed to do that? Because your ego got the better of you,
and the whole thing of I deserve better.
Yeah.
Because you were not in my head living up to expectations that I wanted you to live up to. I was earning all the money, I was doing all the pressure, this, that, and the other.
But we had this conversation the other day, didn't we? That we both got our family to that point.
Yeah, of course.
Whether you were the one physically earning the money, I was the one in the background 6-7 days a week raising Emerson by myself. Just because I wasn't bringing in a paycheck doesn't mean that I wasn't contributing, and actually financially in the beginning as well, to the success of that business. But because I was in the background, because I was in the shadows, because I wasn't in the gym every day, as the forefront with you.
But also, I didn't want to see you.
No, but what I'm saying is we both got to that point together, but in your head, this is all me.
But I wanted to justify what I was doing, so I was like,
This is all me. I'm the one that gets up every day at 5 in the morning, and I'm the one that does this, and I'm the one that does that. Sorry, 4.
But yeah, in your own head, you want to justify it, don't you? So you'd be like, I don't want to see what you're doing. I want to see what I'm doing. I want to see and that's my ego.
And you also used to use that as a bit of leverage to suppress me having an opinion on anything.
Well,
you can't say anything because you don't work. You're looked after.
You've got it easy.
You can't tell me when I can or can't do things because you're nothing to do with this. And that again built so much resentment. I was angry at you.
So really, a lot of
you were angry at me.
A lot of ego was driven, and then that really then resulted in the affair. That resulted in lots of things going wrong between us, disconnect. And I think one of the biggest things that tired dads need to be aware of, that when you are tired, guys, you will justify many actions, not as using tiredness as an excuse, but to feel better, to get
when you're burned
attention.
Out.
When you're burned out, you want the attention off opposite sex, maybe. You want the attention off
let's
the
be real, you don't even want it at first. It's just there. And why is it there? Because you've given off an impression that it's available to be given.
But also it's the thing of you want your ego fed. That's the bottom line. You want your ego fed.
And because of that, you're putting yourself in a position where people are allowed to do that. Where you're at now, no woman could have those conversations with you because you wouldn't allow that. So it's not putting yourself in those situations.
But also, I do think as well, a lot of it is down to knowing who you are as a dad and a man. Because a lot of us, let's be real, at that time, I was probably very insecure. In who I was. I was running a business, had something to prove and all that. So then getting my ego fed my insecurities. I'm doing this and that and the other. And
let's be real, it wasn't just off one person. It was off many in different ways. In different ways.
When you're a personal trainer, you get attention off anything, don't you? And so it was very much along the line of, as long as I got my ego fed, what you were doing at home, as long as Emmy's okay, not really that fussed about. We were having arguments and disconnected.
But strangely, when things did hit the fan and you were confronted, that fear then did take over. And it was like, oh my God, I'm going to lose my family. I don't want to lose you. And then it was
like a reality check, wasn't it?
Because many times I was like, I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. And you were like, no. So that should be the real reality. If you didn't give a flying whatever, then you just carry on your merry way and you won't really care. But it's if you're having those when your wife or your partner confronts you about something that's really hurtful to them, and you have a reality check of, oh my God, I'm going to lose this person if I don't stop. That should be enough. It shouldn't be that it happens over and over and over again.
If you're wondering why we're drinking so much water, it's because we've just had a Chinese.
We haven't had Chinese in about a month, have we?
And it's really
super salty.
It's really salty. That's why we're drinking lots of water. So really, in this podcast, there are so many things we can break this down, but we really want to dissect this in different sections, don't we? In different podcast sections. So I really feel this one is about... when we asked Chat GPT about how would the devil destroy a marriage,
this is how it begins.
This was part one, the whisper that destroys, and that whisper is, guys, telling you deserve better. When the reality is you don't. You just need to work harder at your marriage, don't you? And stop seeking attention from elsewhere. And when I say attention, it doesn't have to be face to face. It can be Instagram, liking other women's.
It's such a risky business nowadays with socials.
You can be liking another social media girl's post. You can be commenting on another social media. You can just be texting another woman. Now, some of you might go, texting isn't wrong and if you text another woman. Let me just tell you guys, it's a slippery slope. One of the biggest things that I've learned is about having freedom with my phone, isn't it? Because when I was going through the hardship and having the affair and stuff like that.
It's really hard for you to say that, isn't it?
What, having an affair?
Yeah. No, going through the hardship.
That's why I called it the hardship, because I'm disconnected from it now.
I'll call it prison.
You've got this joke where I went to prison when I wasn't here.
He wasn't around.
And I didn't actually go to prison.
No. But you might as well have.
Yeah.
For the good it did him.
I've lost my train of thought.
He don't have more money left.
Yeah, exactly. I've lost my train of thought now. One of the things about the phone is, if you can't let your wife or partner go through your phone, what you're hiding?
And let's be honest, this whole load of rubbish about, I deserve privacy, Unless
go to the toilet.
Unless you are saying things about your partner to other people that is distasteful, and you're being really two-faced because you're being nice to their face and slacking them off behind their back. There's nothing really that you wouldn't want your partner to look at.
And looking back now, like I was so, but I just think
all I'm going to say is anybody who is willing to only speak to someone when they're on the toilet is quite telling, isn't it?
But anyway, so one of the things that you can be truthful and honest with your partner is having access to your phone. That's a good way of sharing honesty, isn't it, and truth.
Well, it's not even that you attempted to check it. I can't remember the last time I checked or looked at your phone, but just knowing that I could if I wanted to.
Yeah.
Sometimes is peace enough, isn't it?
And I think we've got to be real, because so many people go, oh, we're not like that. I reckon there's a lot of relationships out there that are like that.
And even if you're not being deceitful with cheating, it could be deceitful about how much money you're spending. You know, you don't want your partner to see how much online shopping you're doing.
Or maybe watching porn. And doing that type of addiction. And so instead of thinking, oh, their relationship was bad and look, oh, ours is not like that, have a real good think and have a real good conversation with your partner and see where your flaws are at. And is there resentment? Is there ego? Is there pride coming up in your relationships that are causing arguments to be bigger than they should be? Are there arguments happening that are going on for longer than they should be? Because right now we have an argument, we're like, just sort it out. I might go on for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes, but we're like,
because it's never over anything that's
really
unresolvable, because all the things that we were arguing about before, there was no quick resolve, was there?
Well, and before, ego was turning conversations into competitions, wasn't it? We'd have a competition more than anything. I'd say, I'm doing all this, you'd be like, but I'm here for home, and I'd be like,
well, I think because I knew how wrong you were doing me, I was like, even if I had needed to apologise for something, I'd be like, am I going to apologise to you after what you've put me through? Do you know what I mean? But there's definitely, and we spoke about this before, a difference between honesty and transparency. Honesty is, if I ask you, you'll tell me. But transparency is, I shouldn't have to ask. And there's a huge difference with that. There's a huge difference between you offering up that information, because I remember saying to you, I can't even count how many times, omitting the truth is still lying. Do you realise that? So just because you didn't tell me doesn't mean that you've not lied about it. Absolutely. And that's a big lesson to learn, isn't it?
So this is podcast episode 28, and we're talking about if the devil wanted to get into your relationship, how would he do it? And the first one would be that he whispers and destroys. The whisper that destroys, which is you deserve better. So as we come to the end of this podcast, I want you to have a quick think about, are you letting in arguments? Are you letting your ego in? Are you letting your pride in? Are you having competition instead of conversations with your partner?
Are you allowing conversations outside your relationship to happen, which can be a very slippery slope?
Is your pride kicking in? Are you always thinking that you've got to be right? Are you allowing outside influences? Because they're all red flags into a way of breaking down.
And it doesn't necessarily have to be someone of the opposite sex either. It could be that your friends are all single and they don't really like the fact that you're in a relationship, so they slowly drip feed you. How much fun we'd be having all together if we were all single. And you know, it doesn't have to be a temptation or an influence from the opposite sex necessarily. It could be anything that's pulling you away from your relationship. And we've spoken about your relationship it's a very delicate bubble. You let anybody infiltrate that and you are on a downward spiral.
Definitely.
Of disconnection.
Yeah, definitely. So guys, if you like this podcast, episode 28 of the Tie Dad podcast, please comment. I'd love to see all your comments on there and all your likes, and please share. Because as you know, my goal is to help 1 million dads and make contact with them and inspire them, motivate them, most of all, build a community to help tired dads out there. Guys, if you don't know, like my Instagram, Tired Dad Traditions Instagram page. If you want to join the Tired Dad community, click the link below. Next time on our podcast, we're going to talk about the domino effect of ego and how that can destroy your marriage. Until next time, I'm Nathan Ross, your Tired Dad host.
I'll see you soon, Melissa Ross. Bye-bye.
See you soon, guys. Bye-bye.